Hi, my name is Rebecca Berner. I am the Director of Health and Human Rights for the Human Rights Watch. First, before we really get going, how many of you are familiar with your Eighth Amendment rights? For those of you who are not as familiar, would you recognize it if I mentioned the words cruel and unusual punishment? Did you know that this amendment can grant you many different rights, including the right to treatment, including for mental health? Today, I'll show you how people with mental health care issues are not getting the proper treatment that they need and have the right to in the prisons that our tax dollars are funding. You may be asking yourself, how does this affect me? Well, as U.S. citizens, we should all know the rights that are granted to us in the U.S. Constitution, as well as pressing issues such as the sheer number of people in prisons who are not getting the help that they need. My organization does much work with the protection of human rights, and my branch works closely with mental health care. I've been talking to groups such as you all over the U.S. for the past year, and today I'll be showing you that a major overhaul in the way the criminal justice system deals with the incarcerated mentally ill needs to occur. I'll show you this by describing the problem, a possible solution, how the solution can help the problem, and finally, what you can do. First, I'll describe the problem. People in the criminal justice system with serious mental illness are simply not getting the care that they need and have the right to. According to Jamie Fellner's 2006 publication, A Corrections Quandary, Mental Illness and Prison Rules, in the Harvard Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Law Review, there are anywhere between 200 and 300,000 prisoners in U.S. jails with serious mental illness. In fact, there are more people with mental illnesses in the prisons in the U.S. than in psychiatric hospitals all over the country. There are 3 to 6 times the amount of people with mental illnesses in these prisons than in the general public, according to the 2009 Department of Justice publication addressing mental illness and in the criminal justice system. These prisons are not prepared or equipped to deal with these large numbers of mentally ill. Instead of prisons helping these inmates, many of whom with proper care could be reformed, they are left to stay in the same or a worse mental state before they are released back into our streets. Some of the problems are that there's not enough funding, there's not enough properly trained staff, and that these prison facilities are simply not equipped to handle mental health care. Our prison system should have the funding for these programs, but our tax dollars are being mismanaged and put into areas that are much less important. Steve Leifman, a special advisor on criminal justice and mental health for the Florida Supreme Court, is quoted in the 2007 New York Times article Decriminalizing Mental Illness by M.J. Steffi as saying, "We need to take a hard look at how we're dealing with the problem overall on a larger scale." And we do need to do this program on a large scale. We need to look at it as a whole to create some major changes and find a possible solution. The solution to this problem I'm going to propose to you today is called jail diversion. This is the screening of incoming and current prisoners for mental illness by mental health care professionals. These professionals would work in connection with the criminal justice system to consider appropriate treatment for prisoners and possibly not even jail time at all. You may be thinking, wait, these people are criminals. They need to be in jail. But a study done in 2003 by the Criminal Justice and Mental Health Care Consensus Project and published in the article titled Ill-Equipped U.S. Prisons and Offenders with Mental Illness shows that law enforcement officers, prosecutors, defenders, and judges, people who are on the front lines every day, believe that too many people with mental illnesses become involved in the criminal justice system because the mental health care system has somehow failed them. They show that with proper medical care, many of these prisoners would have never committed the crimes they are guilty of, and with proper care, many prisoners can be rehabilitated. Jail diversion programs would greatly lessen the burden of the mentally ill on prison systems. This would help with the already overcrowded prisons and help mentally ill prisoners find a way to be re-entered into the community. Unfortunately, according to the Department of Health and Human Services, in their 2007 publication entitled Mental Health and Criminal Justice, there are only about 50 to 55 true jail diversion programs nationwide. Now, let's look at what will happen if these jail diversion programs are accepted or if they are not accepted. If jail diversion programs are developed, mentally ill people will continue to be put into prisons that are not capable of caring for them properly. These people who could possibly be rehabilitated with professional help are robbed of their chance of re-entering the community. And instead, they are left in conditions that can make their illnesses worse. Could you imagine if our prisons would actually help people instead of churning out more dangerous criminals that commit more crimes? If these programs are accepted and developed, it would eventually lessen the burden on the criminal justice system as well as the taxpayers, including all of us, who are pumping money into a flawed system. We would be able to produce productive members of society after treatments rather than have prisoners released in the same or worse mental states than when they entered prison. Imagine lower crime rates and less criminally mentally ill in our cities. So what can you do? You, as Americans, can speak up. You can write your local and state representatives and tell them that you support jail diversion programs or an increase in funding in mental health care facilities for the criminally mentally ill. You can vote for candidates who support these issues. You can support local interest groups involved in protecting human rights, such as the right to treatment in prison. You can donate time or money to a local nonprofit mental health care advocate agency. You can do so much, and every little bit helps in an issue such as this. You wouldn't deny a prisoner AIDS medication or insulin, so don't deny hundreds of thousands of prisoners the right to mental health care that they need.